Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Let's look at the price of Bitcoin and discuss what is happening. Actually, from yesterday when I was talking about the potential rise somewhere around here, I was saying that the current picture, the moves to the upside, the higher highs and higher lows are telling us that the correction which we had here is probably over, is more likely over, and we will not see the low below this point. But I guess I should be more specific, I should be more clear, and of course I didn't say that there couldn't be the decrease in the price, there couldn't be a correction, and in fact we cannot go up forever. There should be corrections, but those are not the major ones. Of course it's like 10-15% of correction, but here it was also like 10%, but before we grew 25, and here we also grew something like 25%. So it is a pretty reasonable price action. We still have higher highs, we still have higher lows. Yes, we had this support line broken, we had even this one broken, but the major one, which we used for the triangular formation, actually held, so it is a good sign. And once again, the only one thing which I was trying to say, that the current price action and what it tells us in the way of whether the correction is over or we will continue to fall and we'll have a new low. And speaking about that, we shall look at the daily time frame and check our 21 moving average. So it was often served as a support line for the correction, and during the corrections, even here in the recent correction, the price went down below that but actually returned back very soon. And right now it is very interesting, but the price touched this EMA with a candle shadow but didn't pin it through. So as soon as we will stay above it, as soon as we will not close below this EMA, I think it is more likely to be a bullish sign, and the longer correction we have, the longer consolidation, it is actually the better for the future establishment of this foundation, for the future rise. So still, I don't see any reasons to panic, go short or something like that. And now I would like to talk about the fact that there is a lot of worries around the court process of iFinex, or actually iFinex and New York Attorney General. It will be on July 29th, so both sides will meet in the court and they will discuss all those issues about the printing of Tether, maybe without being backed by the real dollars, and so on and so forth. Therefore, a lot of people are claiming this to be the reason for the future correction, for the future dump of Bitcoin, because it's very likely that the process will lead to some FUD, maybe even sanctions to iFinex if they will not be able to defend their positions, and the price of Tether will go down, the price of Bitcoin will go down, and so on and so forth. In my opinion, there are two things. First of all, if you remember this correlation between the capitalization of Tether, which is red line here, and the price of Bitcoin, which is blue line here, we had this almost perfect dependence between the price of the Bitcoin having a delay of like 30-33 days after the capitalization of Tether changes. So let's say peaks are very similar, lows are very similar, and so on and so forth. So basically we have a lot of confirmation for that. And in fact, the next stop or a little of the sideways, even a little decrease in the capitalization of Tether happened in the end of June, something like 26th, 27th of June. And if you'll add those 33 days to this date, you will get July 29th. Of course, you may pick another dip, or this is not exactly 33 days, so but in any case, around this area, according to this correlation, there indeed could be the correction of the price of Bitcoin, and maybe really huge, especially considering the fact that before that we'll see some more of the rise. But to me, this seems to be more meaningful reason for the dump of Bitcoin price than the news on iFinex or iFinex, because first of all, this situation was alarming for like months, if not years, and it is pretty much expected that something bad will happen with that eventually. But even if this will happen, and this is the second thing, let's imagine, so we will have the negative news on Bitfinex, on iFinex, on Tether, and so on. Of course, the price of Tether, despite it is a stable coin, will go down because people will try to sell their Tether because they would worry that it will go to zero. Here is the question. What shall they buy for their Tether? Of course, they can buy a little of dollars, maybe on Kraken, but the supply is very little, and then you could buy, of course, Bitcoin and altcoins. And despite that, the price of Tether will be below $1, it's still a huge buying pressure for other cryptos. So instead of having a dump on the price of Bitcoin, it could actually have a absolutely opposite effect. Maybe those two will compensate each other, but apparently this is another factor and the opposite factor for the price evolution of Bitcoin. In other words, I wouldn't be really worried about the court and its result consequences. Instead of that, I would pay attention to some technical analysis points and what do they tell us. Speaking about that, if you remember, we were talking about such a metrics, like more or less fundamental metrics, which is called stock to flow model for Bitcoin. And right now, this kind of chart is available on TradingView. You remember that there is a nice correlation between these jumps on this chart and the price rise of Bitcoin. So very soon we probably will see something like this again. There is a halving event next year, so let's see how it will play out, but in any case it is now available on TradingView. And by the way, I'm adding technical analysis indicators videos which were not in a separate playlist so far on my channel, but now you can look at them. They're not all of them yet, but I will constantly adding them from the old episodes and from the new episodes as well, so please check them out. Maybe you'll find something interesting. And finally, there's an announcement. I made a video with Alessio Rastani recently where he answered some questions about the Bitcoin price, technical analysis and everything. So I'm preparing the video right now, and hopefully within a couple of days, maybe a few days, I will be able to upload it on the channel. So hopefully it will be interesting for you guys. Okay, that is it for today. Safe trading. Goodbye.